It appears we got something to talk about.
Have you checked the children?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird, here to do, honestly, a rapid news reaction, even though you're getting it technically the day after the news kind of drops. I only saw one other group, Bleeding Cool is, I think, who I saw drop this news, but it wasn't in video form. I saw this and I was like, oh my god, I really want to do a news story on it, but you know, I have to wait until I'm back home from work and stuff like that. But guys, I want to talk about The Walking Dead today, and it's going to be more focused on the comics, maybe a little bit of game info as well. It's not going to be much about the show. However, the comic that I'm going to be talking about might end up being a spoiler for the show. So the comic ended, just so you guys know, it ended last year with issue 193. I actually did a full review of that final wonderful issue, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'll link to that at the end. You'll be able to watch that review if you want. But so this is going to technically have spoilers for the ending of the Walking Dead comic, which technically the show is probably 2 to 3 seasons from getting to what was the end of the comic. I don't know that they're going to go the same way. They may change the boat and go a different direction, because I doubt they want to end the show. But just so you know, there is a possibility that this is spoilery for the show as well. We don't know for a fact that it is, but it's possible. There's tons of stuff that was done differently in the comic than it was in the show, and vice versa. So you may not have much to worry about, but I want to give you fair warning. But guys, today, Wednesday, June 1st, as I record this, you're going to see it tomorrow, a new issue to The Walking Dead dropped. Now, there was one little issue that dropped not long, or maybe a couple months ago, that was a post-ending issue, but this is something else entirely. This is an issue that was done and paid for entirely by Robert Kirkman, the writer and creator of The Walking Dead, as well as Charlie Adlard, his longtime artistic collaborator from issue 7 through the end, if I'm not mistaken. It was Tony Moore for the first 6 issues, and then Charlie Adlard, I believe, took over at issue 7 and went through the entire remaining 193 issue run. So, yes, they decided to pay for this out of their pockets because of the current pandemic situation. They were, you know, there's been concern about, you know, comic book stores suffering tremendously because comics stopped shipping entirely for a number of weeks, and a lot of people, myself included, only visit their LCS, local comic book store, to pick up their weekly new issues. When the comics stopped coming, I stopped frequenting them for that 2 months or so. So now that the comics are slowly trickling back out, and all of that is its own separate upheaval, having to do with the Diamond distribution model now going kaput for DC Comics, and probably more down the line. But anyway, that's a whole separate video that's not horror at all. But they dropped a new issue today, guys. Wednesday is New Comic Book Day. It's technically Tuesday now, too. Anyway, it's confusing. But those guys dropped an issue that they paid for entirely that I had to pick up, and it confirms something that we knew at the end of the series, even though his technical send-off was in issue 174. But now we know for sure that Negan lives, you guys. So this is a one-shot special that is all about Negan and what happens post the end of the Walking Dead series. We see now the technically the last issue jumps forward in time a few years. So this happens before that, but it happens after the send-off that he got in 174, which was a fantastic issue, a confrontation between himself and Maggie, who, ever since issue 100, still held a grudge for Glenn's death. You guys know Glenn's death. Anyone that watched our reaction knows Glenn's death, because we still, to this day, get shit for our reaction to Glenn's death when we have our live reaction, when we posted our live reaction video. It's been watched like 40,000 times, and people are still watch to this day and still get mad at the fact that a couple of us laughed when it happened. So anyway, that's how Negan's story ended. A confrontation with Maggie that was a wonderful single issue, all devoted to that. And then we got a little tiny glimpse in the final issue of Negan But this right here is what kind of bridges that gap. This is a single shot story done by Kirkman and Adlard. So it's the standard creative team, but this tells the story of what Negan was up to post the story. And basically what he's doing is guarding the remains of Lucille, his bat. That's right, Lucille. The remains of his bat that got destroyed in the series, he buried because, as you find out in the series, again, spoilers, because they haven't done this yet in the show, I don't think, but, well, maybe I'll avoid this spoiler, but you find out why he calls the bat Lucille. And there is a very personal reason to it, having to do with someone that he's lost. And so in this, he basically is just living solitary by himself, guarding the remains of his bat and talking to it regularly. And it's wonderful Negan, you know, talking to himself and dealing with, you know, the situation that he's in. And then all of a sudden, someone shows up for the first time in a long time. And so now Negan starts talking to this girl, and Negan, obviously being very apocalypse wise, doesn't fully trust her, and stuff happens. Again, I'm not going to show you everything, but there's a very interesting little fireside exchange that they have. It's wonderful dialogue. Look at that artwork. Beautiful Charlie Adlard artwork. And again, I'm not going to show you what happens, but it gets pretty intense pretty quickly. And what this basically is a one-issue sort of prologue to what could be a really good Negan story if they were to do more. They are not planning to do more. They were not even planning to do this when they ended the series, but, you know, the pandemic situation kind of put them in the idea to do it. But this is still a really good one-off issue. If you're a big Negan fan, I highly recommend going out to the comic book store and getting this. Again, it just came out today as I record it, yesterday as you guys are watching this, if you are. But if you like Negan, you're going to want to get this. Now, the other part, and part of the thumbnail, it's not clickbait. It's not clickbait. So let me explain the Clementine side of this. Now, if you didn't know, The Walking Dead had a series of games made by Telltale that were put out digitally through, you know, Xbox and PlayStation Store. I think it was on PlayStation 2. I played it on Xbox, but PlayStation as well, not PlayStation 2. But nonetheless, there was The Walking Dead Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and they did a Season 4. They also did Walking Dead Michonne, and I think one other little side story, but those 4 seasons were the story of Clementine. And it got hairy at one point because Season 4 began, and then Telltale shut down, essentially, and had to reformat their company, almost went bankrupt, but they couldn't finish the 4th season, which was meant to be like 4 or 5 episodes. They only released 2 before the company shuttered and closed. But what ended up happening is Robert Kirkman and his company Skybound, which is the imprint that he runs under Image, they stepped in and finished the last 2 segments of Walking Dead Season 4, which we all thought completed Clementine's story. But that might not be the case, and let me explain why. One of the best things about getting Walking Dead comics in single issue form is this, the letters column, which he titled Letter Hacks issues and issues and issues ago. And this is where Kirkman and the current editor of the comic respond to fan letters. And that's what he did through the entire run of the book. And one of the most entertaining parts of the Walking Dead comic were the letters columns, to be perfectly honest with you. Kirkman is sharp, and they have fun responding to letters, and he drops hints and stuff like that. So what was interesting is there was something at the very end of the letters column where he explained, because Walking Dead, the comic, ended without anyone knowing that that was going to be the last issue. They had solicited for the next 3 issues beyond issue 193. They didn't even tell the comic book stores that it was going to be the last issue. So it was dramatically under-ordered, which is nice. I got myself a first printing, but it was ordered only at the same level that all the previous issues recently had been ordered, thinking that there was going to be more beyond, and all of a sudden it came out. It was like the size of 4 issues, and it completed the whole series as a big surprise. And at the end of the letters column, after he explained why he ended the series the way that he did and all this, he ended and he said, "Thank you very much for reading, Robert Kirkman." And then he said, "P.S. Negan lives." That's how that final issue ended. Again, they had no plans at the time to make this comic, but now reading this letters column, there's a couple of clues here. So, or at least one big one. So it says here, Negan was supposed to die in issue 174 during the confrontation with Maggie, but a letter that his artist, Charlie, sent him after sending him the scripts to draw the issue, he basically made an argument why Negan should live, and then Robert was like, "Oh, absolutely, Negan should definitely live," and so he did. What it says here is, P.S. Negan lives. That's how I ended my letter at the back of The Walking Dead's final issue, final trade, final hardcover, final compendium, all forms of the final story of The Walking Dead in print. So I can understand why you might think this was planned from the moment. The truth is, it very much wasn't, we swear. Because this issue is called Negan Lives. That's how he ended the issue. And he's like, look, we swear, that's not what we meant. Just because I put Negan Lives doesn't mean I knew the story was going to continue. Don't worry about that. That's not what happened. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. He tells the whole reason as to why this book happened and why this particular story of Negan happened and why it won't continue. And then it gets to the very end and it says, so here we are, Negan lives. I hope you enjoyed this surprise return to the Walking Dead universe. I can honestly say I don't know if we'll ever actually see what happens next. To me, you see okay, this is the spoiler. I'll skip over this part. You probably won't see the full story that this leads into, but never say never. But probably never. Probably. Robert Kirkman, Backwoods, California, May 2020. P.S. Clementine lives. So, I think the fact that he addresses the fact that P.S. Negan lives was never supposed to result in a Negan lives issue, but it did. He full well knows that a lot of people took that to mean that, and then at the very end of that very same letters column, he says, P.S. Clementine lives. So that, to me, I mean, it's very Kirkmanian for, hey, Clementine's going to come back. Now, my initial thought was, oh my God, does that mean they're going to actually do like a Clementine spin-off comic book? That'd be cool, but I think it's more likely a reference to the fact that we will get a return to that Telltale Clementine Walking Dead universe in game form through Skybound rather than the Telltale company, since, again, I think it's completely done. They might have just restructured. I'm not sure what ended up happening, but that's something that I thought was worth doing a little news story about, because A, I know a lot of people love Negan, and B, I know a lot of people love Clementine and that whole story. So I thought it was worthwhile that news about both kind of dropped right here. Yes, this is the news about Negan, and it is a worthwhile story. If you like Negan, you want to go get this. It's one shot, one issue. It's not a big investment, and who knows? It might become a collector's item because I don't know how much it was ordered. But nonetheless, the Clementine thing, I think, was worth talking about. So if you guys are fans of The Walking Dead, either the comic, the show, or the games, I think this is all information that you would like to be privy to. So I'm happy to share it with you guys. Thank you very much for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, click the like button and subscribe. Ding that notification bell if you want to make sure that you don't miss other episodes of The Horror Show going forward. Guys, we've got the next... I think I saw we've got 67 episodes ready to go in the can right now, because once Dylan's New Nightmare starts and once my baby comes, I might have to, be ahead a little bit. So that's why we're so far ahead. But I had to come in here and give you guys this news as it happened, because it's exciting. It's exciting for me. It's exciting for you if you like the Walking Dead universe. So again, I apologize if I spoiled anything, but thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel. And the link to the Patreon is in the description box down below if you want to become a patron. We now do monthly live streams where any patron of any level, even the $1 level, can take part in those live streams. So if you want to become a patron, even for $1 a month, that's the way you can take part in the actual show and jump on here with us. So thanks very much for watching, you guys. I've been Cecil Laird, and remember, stay scared.